So thanks everyone for joining me today. My name is Allie. I'm the Public Programming Assistant at the Textile Museum of Canada, and I've been here for a few months. So yeah, it's really great. I'm glad to have the opportunity to teach these teach-ins for you guys, and I hope you all have some materials with you and want to participate with me today. That would be really great if we could all work together a little bit. I'm going to share my screen and show you a little overview of block printing. My name is Allie. Like I said, my pronouns are they, them. I'm the Public Programming Assistant at the Textile Museum of Canada. You might see me from time to time in the reuse program as well. That's kind of where I like to hang out. So today we're talking all about block printing and especially experimental printing. So block printing is a very popular way of printing on fabric and paper. So this can be an image, like a static image, a motif, or a repeat pattern with lots of elements. The craftsperson would begin by drawing or tracing their motif onto a piece of wood before carefully carving it. If the print is composed of multiple colors, the artist would carve a block for each color in the image from lightest to darkest, finishing with the outline or most detailed layer. Block printing ranges from very simplistic one-color prints to extremely complex layered imagery. So we're going to do some one-color printing today just to get started. But I think as you try more and more, you're going to enjoy layering different colors. There's a very rich history of block printing all over the world. The earliest sample of block printing on cloth is from China, 220 AD, which is so wild. We've been doing this almost forever. We started printing on cloth and then moved into letterpress and printing press and that sort of thing. So some of our earliest textiles are block prints. The very recognizable ukiyo-e style of block printing originated in Japan during the Edo period, which was the 17th to 19th century. And the bog print is the traditional Indian style of block printing from Bog in Madhya Pradesh. They often use natural dyes instead of the standard print paste. And it's believed to have been started 1,000 years ago. This is a gorgeous image called Pomegranate Magnolia with Bird, and it's one of the early Chinese block prints. It's so gorgeous, almost like a silk painting from the year 1700 to 1750, and it's in the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. Just a gorgeous piece. We also have probably the most famous block printed image of all time, Hokusai's wave, Under the Wave of Kanagawa from 1830. And this beautiful bog print pillowcase that I found on the Maiwa website. It is just gorgeous. I'm a natural dyer, so I spend a lot of time on the Maiwa website, and yeah, they just have some really beautiful bog prints there. Contemporary block printing is a more experimental art form. You can create blocks from all kinds of materials. We can use modern technology to make blocks with 3D printers, laser cutters, and metal casting. There's a lot of copper blocks. And better yet, we can even use materials from our recycling bin, which is what we're going to be doing today. You can purchase ready-made blocks or commission an artist to make one for you. Of course, it's always more fun to make it yourself. I know you can order blocks from India. You can commission the artist to carve you a block. There's a block artist on Etsy. So there's all kinds of different ways you can get blocks made for you. So to participate today, you will need a stamp. So this can be a lino block, styrofoam, cork, all kinds of different materials can be a stamp. Our tools would be a lino cutter if you're interested in carving a block. You'll need a pencil, marker, and a ruler. And of course, some kind of an idea, a sketch, a concept, or an inspiration board. I love to look, send everyone my Pinterest board. So maybe you've taken a look at that. And yeah, your ideas can come from anywhere. It's really great. These are some images I found that I thought were pretty inspiring. The one in the center, Mama Laterre, she has a lot of images on Pinterest and online, and you can see she's made a pretty complex layered image with just a few blocks, which I find super impressive. There's also some simple printing you can do with just botanical floral blocks, very simple carvings, or you can even print with found materials like a leaf or a feather. Helen's Closet Patterns. She's on Pinterest and Instagram as well. She makes all kinds of clothing with her block prints. Janka Decker, she's a textile artist who uses all kinds of different materials, but here we have a beautiful block print from her, very simplistic with the stripes, but it made a gorgeous plaid. And Jessica Welling on the right, she block printed with actual fruit, so that's very fun. You have some easy ways to make blocks at home. You can use wine corks or small pieces of wood and kind of hammer into them, or use nails, chisels, whatever you have lying around to make a pattern. The image on the right from Martha Stewart magazine is just some experimental printing with objects they had lying around. I think those look very sophisticated, so it really shows how you can make something gorgeous with very simple materials. And of course, Toronto artist Buku, she uses block printing a lot in her work. The one on the right was just rubber bands on a roller, I believe. And yeah, the one on the left was a carved block from a kit. So very different results, still very sophisticated in both ways. Yeah, it really shows you what you can do with a little creativity. So here are some kind of easy project ideas for everyone. You can make your own stationery with your own personalized stamps or logos. You can make gift wrap, patches, things to repair your clothing with. As small pieces of fabric can be tea towels, handkerchiefs, or napkins. I think block printing is great for miniatures if you want to create a very small design for dolls, for example, or doll houses. You can make a zippered pouch or a coin purse, or you can just make simple artwork on paper. It's really up to you. There's kind of no limit, just your imagination. So if you want to learn more, there are a lot of tutorials online. I will be sending this presentation to everyone. So if anything in particular catches your eye, yeah, just check out some of these links. There's a lot of really good information about block printing on the internet. And books, of course, as well. We have books in our library that I'm sure cover block printing if you want to come to the Textile Museum and take a look at some of our books. Thank you so much for joining. And now we will do a little demo. Yeah, so that's just a little bit of the history of block printing. I'm a natural dyer myself, so I do like to print with dye print paste. I learned block printing in college. I went to Sheridan College and we covered a lot of different types of printmaking. I enjoy printing on paper, but also on fabric, of course. So it's a great way to make textiles, and it's also a great way to make like cards, stationery, all kinds of things. Just fun artwork. So we're gonna switch the camera. So what I have here is a little stamp that I marked out. So one of the first steps of lino cutting is you want to use a ruler and make a grid or make any kind of design and really map it out as best as you can. Draw that with your pencil. Mechanical pencil works really well. You want to get like sharp and accurate lines. And then you trace everything with a marker. So what's colored in the marker is usually what you want to carve away. So that makes it a lot easier to kind of tell your pattern. And I have a lino cutter here. If you have any wood carving tools, that works as well. Yeah, and it comes with all different kinds of tips. So yeah, you can switch between the more detailed. This one's kind of a chisel tip. Let's see if you can see here. So I just follow along the lines that I made for myself. And you want to be very careful. This is a speedy cut, so it's very thin block, or thick block, sorry, so it's very easy to carve. But there's thinner lino you can buy as well for more detailed projects. I have a couple samples here of the regular lino you might buy at the art supply store. It's thicker, so if you're trying to carve regular lino block, you want to kind of heat it up with your body, you know, sit on it or warm it up in your hands before you use it. It's very tough to carve. I also want to show quickly some examples of blocks that I bought. So I bought these from India, where I was talking about the bog prints earlier. This is an elephant and it's a copper casted piece. So you can see this is incredibly complicated. Now, some things you might not think are block print might be block print. This is an A. I love initials, so it's a cool monogram. You can see this block has been used to print something white before. It's got a white line. And then this really kind of unique bug. There's all kinds of blocks you can buy and all kinds you can commission from artists. You can make your own. So they can be as sophisticated or as simple as you want, whatever works for you. But I love looking at these just for inspiration. So yeah, back to the carving, you just want to follow along. Following your guidelines. Be careful not to cut yourself. It's very easy to cut yourself with a sharp lino cutter, so be careful. You know, adult supervision if you're a kid. Just keep it in mind. You might want to wear like finger protector or glove or something. So if you carve all the way down to the blue, then you're left with this relief, and that's what's actually going to print.
Allie, sorry,
yeah.
Do you mind bringing it closer to the camera? That one you were showing, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But I do have kind of a magic cooking show moment for you. I've already carved this ball in advance. So I do have the diamonds carved out here, and you'll see it's completely blue because I carved away all of the white area of the block to leave a relief. So basically you're carving away an impression and then you're left with a negative space. So you want to really kind of almost think in reverse. You know, normally we're used to drawing with a pencil where you might draw the line, but what you're doing is carving away that negative space around your line. Okay, so I have a piece of pleather here. Wax paper works great, and so does you know, palette paper if you have that. If you have plexiglass or anything, this works perfect. I have speedball ink. This is for fabric, but it's also fine for on paper as well. And when you print with this, if it's on fabric and you want it to be permanent, you want to heat set it with an iron after you're all finished. I'm going to put the tiniest little bit of ink out here. Move it a little bit closer for you guys. And I have my brayer. Another kind of fancy printmaking tool. You can also just use a palette knife. You want to roll out a little tiny bit until you hear it. It'll make this kind of sticky noise. And when it makes this noise, that's how you know the ink is good. And then you just want to roll it onto your block. And you want to try to get it just on the line and not too much on the inside if you can avoid it. I have a piece of fabric here to try. Little inky shavings. Okay. So you're just going to press it down here as far as you can. You kind of hit it a little bit. Try not to move it. When you lift up, you have a block print. So I waited a little bit of time so it dried a little bit. So I'll put a little bit more ink on this time. Oops. And a little bit of ink goes a really long way, and you don't want it to be too inky or it won't work super well. So I'm lining up to my edge. Lift, And you can see it makes a repeated pattern here. And the way you make a repeat is you have the very center of your design framed by the two opposite edges. So half of it is in the middle and the other half is on each side, but flipped so that they join together as you print side by side. So if this was an image, say, of 3 faces, you'd want to have a face in the middle, one side of the face here and the other side of the face here to print 2 and repeat, if that makes sense. You want to kind of think about it as breaking your images into parts so that it repeats evenly. And this design is a square, so it can repeat all the way around and kind of infinitely. And it's a really good way of decorating your old cloth. So this is just a piece of scrap that I had, but now that it has a design on it, I'm definitely more inclined to use it for something, maybe embroider on top, maybe make a patch out of it. So there's a lot more you can do. I'm going to do a little bit more on this and print the whole cloth so you can see what it looks like in repeat. And then we're going to move on to our more experimental style of printing. So, and make sure you put down lots of paper. I put down a lot because I don't want to make a mess. Just put a little bit of ink. And roll it out. And it's making that sticky noise. That's great. Roll onto the block. And when you have the paper around it, you can print onto the paper without worrying. I have design here. You're going to line it up as best as you can. Press down. Even kind of like hit it a little bit. There you go. So it kind of repeats. You can see there's an actual pattern being created with the repeat. Oh. My hand's a little bit inky, so it's good to wear gloves if you like. Just because the ink is mostly non-toxic, but you don't necessarily want this stuff on your hands. Go. So you can see it's created a whole piece just from that one small print. And we can see also how good it looks just on paper as a stamp as well. Block printing is fabulous on paper. Okay, so I've got this piece. I'm going to put it to the side and I'll have to iron it later so that it's more permanent. But you kind of get the idea of a more complex pattern. But what's really fun about block printing is the experimental block printing. So I have a ton of objects. To my left, you can kind of see here a ton of different things that you probably wouldn't think are good for printing, but I think are great for printing. So I'm going to get another piece of fabric here. And I like to take stuff from recycling. You don't need to, buy new things to try printmaking. I'm sure you all have some things at home that would work great for mark making materials. So things like a toothbrush, a fork. I have some cookie cutters. I have some felt shapes, some double-sided tape, a comb like this. A regular comb works well too. Cork is a really great material. You can cut into shapes. I have some foam here, this kind of packaging that was just from like an Amazon parcel. A potato masher. And I think this one's going to be fun. It's just a sleeve of a coffee cup. So I'm definitely going to try this out. I have a little bit of ink still on here. Instead of rolling onto the cardboard, I'm going to press the cardboard into it. Oh, it's not quite inky enough. Let's give it a little bit more ink. So when you're building an image for fabric, you want to think about layers, of course. You want to think about making it interesting. And you're probably going to want to combine more than one of these shapes and probably more than one color at one point. Press this in here. Okay, so we've got some black lines going on. And I'm going to kind of put them diagonally. Yes. It creates a really interesting stripe pattern, very organic, and to me very interesting. If we're talking about, you know, different weights of stripe, got this fork here. And create a little bit wider. And what else do I have that makes stripes here? This potato masher. Actually, gonna like roll the paint onto it a little bit. Wow, so I really like how that looks. Okay, so this is looking pretty interesting, right? One of my favorite kind of old printing tricks is bubble wrap. You can also use saran wrap. You can kind of bunch up plastic wrap and make prints with it as well. I'm just rolling the onto the bubble wrap. Makes a very cool, satisfying noise. I'm just gonna place it here. Wow, this is already so much better than the boring, the boring pink fabric I had before. It's a lot more enticing to me. And of course, it makes brilliant prints on paper. So if you're a surface designer, if you like illustrating, if you like working on paper, this is even easier to do on paper and looks amazing. And the last kind of one I want to try is a feather. I have enough ink. It's a little ghostly. But you get the idea, right? So anything you can find around your house, if you think creatively. I collected all these objects mostly like in the last couple nights, and there's things all over that you can use for printmaking. Just put a little bit more ink here. This is just, a bobbin, some thread holder. Makes kind of a cool wheel pattern. So of course, this is super fun for kids, right? Because it's a great activity. Go around your house and find things that you can print with. And yeah, if you're into digital art at all, these are great. You can scan them onto your computer and manipulate them through like Photoshop or through other kind of softwares to create really interesting digital patterns as well. So next kind of step, I'm going to create a block to show you how you might make a block with some things from around your apartment, around your house. So I just have a piece of cardboard. I have some rubber bands. I'm just going to kind of loop these rubber bands here. I'm going to create an interesting kind of pattern. So we've got some kind of overlapping stripes. And I got a fresh piece, and I think I'm gonna try this on a piece of handmade paper. So if you've been following along with our teach-ins, you know that we've done some classes on paper making and bookbinding. So this is a great way to use up some of your maybe failed papers that you made. This is some paper I made. I wasn't super happy with the texture of it, but I think it'll look cool as a block print. Kind of inking the rubber bands. And creating kind of interesting striped texture. And I'm gonna flip it just because I think that looks more interesting. You can see in just a couple minutes, I've created an interesting ground here. So that could be ground for an artwork. You could work on top, you could paint into it, you could ink into it, you could use these for collage, cut some pieces out and make new shapes. So it's really fun, and you have kind of lots of opportunities to work here. I'm going to take the piece of cardboard from earlier, some ink on there. Create maybe here another overlapping line texture. So kind of imagine the application of this kind of a piece, right? Maybe it's gift wrap. I think gift wrap like this would be really cool. I know like when you're in primary school, you do like potato stamping and apples. So that's a really good way too. You can cut out shapes with a cookie cutter out in the middle of the apple and stamp with that. I've seen the orange stamp example I showed earlier. There's all kinds of ways, you know, potatoes, pears, all kinds of fruit you can cut and make stamps with as well. So that's really fun. I'm going to try another piece. I'm gonna make some circles. We just did some lines, so now I'm gonna try some circles. So this cookie cutter, which I actually used for felting. And obviously, you guys, please don't use something for art and then use it in your kitchen. Separate art and kitchen supplies. So we're gonna do a simple pot here, fishing. Gorgeous. Another kind of latte. And I'm trying to make it look very, you know, free form. Not doing any kind of specific pattern. I always think that like shapes go well together. So if you have, you know, a big circle and then like a small circle goes well. So maybe some small circle in here. When I'm done with this one, when I kind of fill the page, I think this is going to be an envelope. I'm going to cut the paper and glue it into an envelope. And I like to send lots of letters to my friends. So it's always nice to send like a print or printmaking in the mail. Friends always appreciate a handmade gift. If like me, you're a little less illustrative, I'm not like amazing at drawing. So this is a great way to use objects around your home to make shapes so you don't have to make them yourself. I think this looks pretty fun and cool. Okay. So I think that looks pretty fun. And this one, yeah, I'm gonna cut it and make it into an envelope. And probably the same with the striped one as well. So next step, cork stamp. I think we all have pieces of cork, whether it's like a wine stopper or maybe you have some leftover cork board, something from a project. So this is really great if you find some of this stuff. These are all just old materials I had in my apartment. I like the texture of it too. It's really interesting because it's got all this roughness to it. I'm a big fan of triangles. So I think I'm going to make some triangles. And this works with the foam as well. So like this type of foam, you can cut it into shapes. If you have styrofoam plates, that works really well as well. And then I'm gonna take one of my cardboard blocks. Where did it go? And I have some double-sided tape. And I'm just gonna tape all these pieces of cork onto the cardboard so that it makes a pattern. And this isn't a block that's going to last forever, but it'll last a little while. This is a fun way to do a craft and recycle some stuff from your trash bin and recycle some old fabric pieces that you didn't know what to do with. A hot glue gun is also fantastic for this. And you can draw with the hot glue gun as well and make patterns that way. You can kind of just draw with the hot glue. Let's see here. Manipulate it a little bit so it looks cool. Do we have any pro block printers here? Do we have anyone who has done a lot of block printing in the past, or just all beginners? No? That's cool. I like for people to learn too. It's good if you've never done it before. Once I started carving blocks and practicing in the spirit of this workshop, I actually enjoyed it so much. I think I'm going to carve more blocks in the future, and that speedy cut is really fun. I've seen a lot of tutorials online as well for using erasers. So if you have just like a pack of erasers for maybe $1 or $2, and you can carve those and make small stamps as well, and that's a very economical way. There's this idea with art that to be an artist, you have to have all these really good, expensive materials. And I just want everyone to know that, in fact, you can use garbage. In fact, you can use anything you have. You don't have to pay a lot of money. You can make something with an eraser from the dollar store. You can use bubble wrap and all kinds of fun things. So this already looks pretty fun. I like how this is turning out. Let me see if we get a little bit closer. So it's already kind of looking cool, and triangles are really easy to pattern with. You can kind of make almost like a crystal structure and line up all different triangles together, and they always somehow look good, no matter how you're doing it. Here. I feel like it needs one more maybe here. And after I do this little part, I'm going to show you how to do a second layer of a print if you're interested in doing multiple layers. I like how this looks. I'm gonna try it out. So I have all my triangle shapes cut out of cork and just kind of free form. But that's fun. Free form is okay. A lot of ink on these, on the cork. It sucks it up. Okay. And I'm going to use a piece of white cloth. This is a scrap I had from mask making. And I'm just going to press it down in the middle. Yeah, look at that. So it's got all that texture, the cork. I think it's super cool. I'm really into that. So it's feeling kind of like a stone almost. Has that kind of crystal quality. I'm gonna try one more. Actually, I'll try to see what it looks like on paper. Another sheet of. So I have this really super textured pink paper that I made in Jan's paper making workshop. This is really fun. It's got some string in it and some different pieces. We make sure the ink is like all over your block. You don't want to have gaps. And I think I'm going to do it in the style like a writing paper. So I'm just going to put it at the bottom in the corner. So that's cool, right? And it's kind of mimicking that texture of the paper with the cork as well. And any, you know, if you're an illustrator, if you're an artist, you can kind of take your pen and go in and draw into these areas as well. You're not limited by just your block. I think the block could be a great starting point too for a lot of art. You can start with these kind of big shapes and then layer on top of them. Okay. So I want to show you all how to do a inside block, so for a second layer. So I have, let me see if I have any more. So I have this block that I was working on, right? That's this image, but we already did these diamonds. So now I'm going to carve out, so it's this diamond that's open. So I'm carving away this outside bit, you know, kind of imagining layered shapes. I'm trying to just leave this middle diamond out. And this could be, this is a fresh block with this other design traced on. But you can also use the same block. So there's a method of block printing where you carve away your image. So you're left with less and less of the wood each time. That's another way you can do it. If you're using a lino cutter, try to make sure your tools are sharp. It's always much more dangerous with a blunt tool. And keep your fingers far away from the blade. So if you're using Speedy Cut, which is the name of this type of block, you want to cut away all the white on the top layer until you're left with just the blue or pink underneath, whatever color you're using. This is super rough and quick, obviously, kind of get the idea. So what's left over is that center diamond shape. Trying to carve out enough so I can kind of cut this block. Hopefully we'll cut with scissors. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so super rough. Okay, you can just cut it. Put my shavings to the side. This is a very messy activity, so keep a trash can nearby for your shavings and everything. Okay. So now I have this kind of diamond shape, which is again super rough. I apologize. Let me try to clean up this edge a little bit. And gonna get a piece of foam like this. We're just gonna stick it on. Actually, I can probably hold this with my hand. So ink here, inking up the stamp. I need a little bit more ink. You don't want to put out too much at a time because it dries really quickly, as you can see. And I'm going to line it up with the diamond in the image. See, so I'm filling in the shape. If you do it kind of randomly, it can give you a very sweet look. Especially with multiple colors, of course, if you had, you know, a light pink would look fantastic on this. I'll start maybe here. I'm just trying to line it up as best as I can. Go over that light one on the bottom and try to make it a little bit darker. Go. This is super fun to do just as an activity, that I'm probably going to use these pieces of fabric for mending. I like to have colorful patches for my jeans and things, so this is a good way to do that. Okay, so we went from a boring pink piece of cloth to a cloth with some different layers going on. Yeah, so it's a lot more usable and inspiring than just plain fuchsia, which I had left over from an old school project. So this is a way better use for it. And if you come into the museum in our Rios program, we have a free scrap bin if you want to get some small pieces of fabric to try out. That's a great place to get some. Like I said, you don't need expensive materials. You can use whatever you like. Okay, so there, look at this, which is really fun and fills me with a lot more joy than purple pink fabric. I saw online on the Martha Stewart website, I was looking at some block printing examples, and there was a really fabulous one using a potato matcher. So I'm going to emulate that and show you how you can get a really cool print. But yeah, we were going to throw this away, and I thought I'd rather repurpose it and use it for art. I might need more ink. It dries so fast. Always get it drying before I'm ready to work. Let me move this a little bit closer as well, so you can see better. Cleaning up as I go a little bit. This has like a really fun I'm gonna try kind of off the page. I like when design kind of goes off the page. Staying still. I'm gonna go over that line again. It's not satisfying. I'm sorry, my hand is in the way. Ooh. Sorry, I know I keep bumping. I know I keep bumping the camera. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's try a third layer. Isn't that interesting? Now this isn't a super dark print, but you can go in and layer with stitch, embroidery, or kind of draw on it or whatever, and it makes a really cool background. And I think this works way better as a paintbrush than a potato masher. It was a pretty not great potato masher, but it makes a pretty good drawing tool. You don't need to be fancy. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. And for any quilters who might be watching, this would be a great way to create some quilting blocks. You could kind of do different drawing styles, different ways on your blocks, and then make a quilt with all your different fun marks that you've made. I'm gonna try, I found these foam stickers in the reuse. So I'm gonna try these to make a block. Now I think they just have a sticker back. So a sticker is amazing because it's already sticky and ready to go. Okay, so that looks pretty cool, pretty funky. I'm gonna cut this down. Get some more ink on my brayer. This thing is called a brayer. It's a very fancy tool. I don't know if these are going to work, but it's experimental, so we're going to try it anyway. It's probably going to be a very soft print, so I'm just going to put it on the paper. Down here, I'm pressing where I see those 3 flowers. Yeah, it's got a very soft print, but kind of cool. So this has a lot of potential for card making, obviously, right? You find a lot of those foam shapes, you know, at the dollar store. Maybe you just have something lying around, some old stamps, and you can create a really fabulous card with those. Okay. Another piece of lino. I wanted to try making kind of quick design with the lino. So I'm warming it up with my body, with my hands. Lino is very, very cold and hard. It's wood, it's linoleum, so you want it to be as soft as you can make it. I saw this piece of easy cut. Maybe we do easy cut. I'm really interested in fruit shapes. I really like strawberries and lemons. So I think I'm gonna make some little strawberries. I think that would be fun. And then you guys can get an idea of how you draw and create your own lino cut basically from scratch. So you use this side because it's a little less inky. And I'm gonna draw some strawberries. I'm sorry, hitting the camera again. I'm so sorry. Some kind of generic strawberry shapes. I'm gonna do 3 because things usually look better in 3s. So I have my, on the bottom of my lino cutter, that's where I store all my little blades. And this one's a super fine blade for detail. And screen. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure you all can see me. I'm gonna tilt this down a little bit. So for this one, I'm gonna carve kind of an outline of the strawberries. And then I'm also gonna carve some detail inside. Let's see what that looks like. I'm carving away the negative space around my strawberries. So I always find it easier to do the outline first because that's like the smallest area. And once the most difficult detailed part is done, then you can just carve the background away. Carve some little lines for the leaves. And then I'm going to carve some little dots for seeds. If you're interested in block printing and you're a little bit artistically challenged, maybe you're creative, but you're not like a great illustrator, like I said in my presentation, you can find lots of really great artists who will make these for you, or you can commission, a laser cut block, or you can buy a block. Yeah, there's tons and tons of options. So you can see my very rough strawberries. I'm gonna get a few little things here. And then I'm gonna take my bigger blade and carve away the outsides. You can kind of see my strawberries a little bit better now that I have a background around them. It's 5:15 already, so I'm going to quickly finish this block, and then I'd like to kind of see what you guys are working on and answer any questions if you have any questions for me. So these are not perfect or great or anything, obviously. They're just little tiny strawberries, but what I'm going to do is cut them out so they're individual stamps, and then I'm going to show you how you can kind of layer them to create an image. So on the back, I'm going to write a number and an arrow showing which way it's facing. I'm going to say this is number 1, and it's facing this way, I think. This is number 2, and it's facing this way. Number 3. It's that way. And they're very, unrefined and undetailed, but that's okay for the purposes of demonstration. And I got this piece of paper I was kind of working on earlier. I'm gonna cut out a little more ink. Making a mess on my desk. But that's fun. You like making a little bit of a mess. So block number 1, pressing it in the ink. You can see it here. It's a little strawberry. Number 2. Number 3. Oh, the more of these you kind of layer, then they're starting to look like bunches of strawberries. And it can be really cute to kind of rotate the blocks, having them go in different directions, having them go all over the page. And of course, if I was spending more time on this project, I'd probably use this one and make a bigger strawberry too. So we'd have different sizes to kind of complement each other. Would anyone working like to share what you've been working on or thinking of working on or anything? Yeah, feel free to unmute. Hi.
Hello. Thank you so much, first of all. This has been really lovely. I went to my recycling bin and just grabbed whatever was on top. I got a chunk of cardboard and a can.
Great.
So I did this little chunk rolling the can.
Nice.
It was fun.
Stripes.
Love how those stripes turned out. I like the bits that are kind of blotchy too.
Yeah.
And then out of my cardboard, I like triangles as well. So I did a triangle and a little square.
Yeah.
I'm super inspired by fabric piecing, like quilt blocks and stuff like that. So first I did just checkers.
Yeah. Fantastic.
There's like a bend in the cardboard there that I think actually just added a really neat
Looks
texture.
cool. Yeah, adds more texture.
Yeah. And then I did this guy with my square and triangles.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, very, very quilt block inspired.
Yeah.
But these are just some scraps of fabric, but I think this would be cute on so many things. And these were in my like to be shred up, to be stuffed in something pile, but now I will use them for something cute.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know everyone, like anyone who's a textile person, we have these weird bits, right?
Yep.
So this was like an old screen print that I did in college. It's just an old offcut. So I don't know what else I would do with this. So definitely, you know, you want to just, print something on it, add more layers, because this kind of flower would look cool with, you know, some triangles in front or some dots or anything, right? But otherwise, it's just kind of destined for the scrap pile. There's nothing I can really make with this otherwise. But, you know, with a little pattern, makes a patch, it makes a little coin bag, it makes a gift, a rag, a handkerchief. So it's a lot more fun when it's got something cute printed on it. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That's so great.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. And yes, I would love to share this recording with you. In a few days, I will get that to everyone so you can check out those links that I posted and any other information. If you have any questions, I would love to answer those for you. My email is adavis@textilemuseum.ca, or you can reach out to me on Instagram @witchdyes. I love to, help through the DMs if anyone wants to share something they're working on. It's always fun to talk to you guys about your projects, and I love it.
Thank you, Allie. I can also share what I made today as I was watching a workshop. So I carved out a little skate boot.
Oh.
And this was the first piece that I stamped out today.
Oh my gosh.
And then we did a mixture of black and gold.
That's gorgeous. Wow.
This is the third one, just the same stamp.
Oh my gosh. You know what I was thinking would be really cool with those? When when you go ice skating, you use a little towel to dry off your skates. It would be super cute to have a rag with skates on it to dry off your blades.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Or even a bag, for your skates. You could print a whole huge cloth bag for your skates. That would be so cute.
That's right. Thanks for the idea. I think I will actually use your idea. It's a great one.
Thanks, Anita, for sharing. I love that. I'm very inky, so if you're doing it right, you should have inky hands too.
And then touch your face, Allie.
Oh no, yeah. Well, thanks everyone. It's been really fun and I love seeing what you're working on too. So like I said, if you want to reach out and share with me, I love that. So yeah, thanks for joining. And Leah, do you have any upcoming things to promote?
No, not well. On March 1, we have the catalog launch for Anathorma, Permanent
Yeah.
Danger. So you can still sign up for that one. And that's about it, actually. Oh, I'm so sorry. We also have a full carry workshop, an embroidery workshop on February 26th. That's Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
With Denise Maroney. And we still have a few slots available for that one too. So check it out on our
Fantastic.
website. Thank you. Okay.
All right, fantastic. So yeah, reach out to me if you have any questions and take care, everyone. Have a good evening.